And we are live. So welcome to another OSR Tabletop live stream with DM Bluddworth. So greetings everyone. Well, once again, it's like I can never really plan these things way ahead. Um, but today actually happens to be a day when I knew I was going to have a lot of time to myself. My wife and kids went to went to my wife's cousin's house to spend the evening, stay overnight, and so they were doing like high tea and girls' night out kind of thing combined. So it is myself and our family dog Bella. That is we are solo tonight. So just wanted to jump in and probably wrap up a little bit. So I will do the RPG a day and get through the week's worth of that and talk a little bit about the channel. And of course, I sent out an invite if anybody wants to jump in. Just throw something in the private chat and I can throw you the link. I'll also put the link in the general chat channel. I believe I have room for up to 10 people to join in. So first come, first serve. Anybody wants to jump in and talk either about RPG a day or they want to talk about anything else going on within the hobby. It is an open, home alone edition of the OSR Tabletop. So let me start with, I don't see any comments, although I see 4 people are watching. So you can jump in at any time you wish. I will throw in the link for those that do want to join in. And there goes the link. If you want to join on the panel, you're welcome to jump right in. And I will try to monitor I'll try to monitor the YouTube chat, and at the same time, the chat here in this box. So sometimes they don't exactly match up, which is kind of weird, but I will do my best to make sure. I'll turn down my volume there, and I will bring this up and actually log into the live chat here. Come on. There we go. And I'm just waiting for the timer on the YouTube to, get past that. And why isn't it running? Oh, commercial. All right. So anyway, I am going to go right to my first banner. So what I've been doing with this RPG a day 2022 is I have been just, well, let's dismiss this. What the frick? Now I can see why it's such a pain in the ass. I have been doing these as like a weekly wrap up instead of each day doing a video. I know that's probably not ideal for, the channel's algorithm, but these have always been a pain for me, and to try to get through them, it's never quite worked out. So I will start going off of these, and then when I see comments pop in, I will certainly jump to your comments. So day 22, which would have been Monday, the prompt was, who is your current character? Well, I am, one of those, individuals that is, practically a forever DM or GM or whatever you want to call it. I am not currently playing any characters, but the one I have 2 characters that I am thinking about. One I use just for playtesting scenarios in Castles and Crusades. That is my halfling. Rogue, Melolot Marigold. Who has, I have a long history with this character, and I'll get a little bit into that. My second character is also a halfling rogue which I created around 2017. I want to, guess at, or maybe even 2016. And his name was is Tiv Bloodfoder. And Tiv Bloodfoder literally means a thief with bloody feet. And his whole story has now been kind of turned over to Luke Gygax and his upcoming Kickstarter, where the character is going to appear in in his module or adventure or mega adventure. I'm not quite sure exactly what this whole thing is, but his upcoming Kickstarter. And so the character was created, will be in the will be in the game setting as an NPC, somewhere along the lines. I don't know exactly how he's going to be used, but that was a character that I was willing to kind of lose control over and allow him to go out there in print. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what Luke Gygax and the others on that on that team, on the Gaxworks team, does with the character. So those are my two characters at the current time. So what situation is your character currently in? Well, they're both currently in kind of a holding pattern. Melolot Marigold, I will continue to play test some situations with him as I am trying to become more and more familiar with the Castles and Crusades system. I intend to start a campaign in Castles and Crusades, probably two different groups, because I have a lot of players who want to jump in on this. I'm currently looking at anywhere from 8 to 10 that have already kind of signed on, and I'm expecting probably a few more. So I don't know what my schedule is going to be like as far as how many sessions of Castles and Crusades I will be able to run. At least one, possibly two, and then I have my AD&D First Edition campaign, which is still ongoing and is still my priority. At this point, is to continue running that campaign. We're approaching week 56 with that campaign, so I'm really excited about it. It's going to start moving into some pretty cool stuff. So, just can't wait to get back into that again. So, again, all of this week's questions or prompts are related to characters. And like I said, I don't have any current characters. So, it's just those two that I'm messing around with. Let's move on. So, when did you start playing this character? So, as I mentioned, Tiv Bloodfoder, I created either in 2016 or 17. He was part of a group of adventurers called the Unnamed Company, and the Unnamed Company was the guild name that I was using for Pathfinder Online, which we never really launched it. That game never really launched, I should say. And, the group of friends that I put together for that, I mean, we stuck through it for probably about 3 years. We held on just waiting for that game to come through. So, so that was the first iteration of Tiff. He was Tiff Bloodverd at the time, and later on he switched and became something else. I do have some comments finally. All right, so let's see. And Ironcaster, you got your name from Pathfinder. Yeah, I mean, I have the first edition of Pathfinder, and when I looked at it, it just struck me more as like a a card game, a battle card game um, shifted to RPG mode. If that makes any sense, or that's just the impression that I got. Um, although comparison to um the later versions of 5e, like post Tasha's, I'd probably play Pathfinder first edition before that. um Unfortunately, Pathfinder Online just never, they just never did it right. They never put it together correctly. They didn't have the right vision for it. They they didn't have the right size team, even though they had a couple of people on that team that really knew what they were doing. They were good game developers, but it was really ruined from the very top. I think that Ryan Dancy was not a very good head of Goblin Works, which was the side company that Paizo created to run this thing. Um, Ryan Dancy didn't have the right vision, the right mentality for an MMO, and he never really wanted to wrap his head around the idea that if it was going to be an MMO with PvP, then you had to be kind of all in on that. You had to allow for it if you're functioning in the River Kingdoms, and which is where it was set at. And the River Kingdoms had a lot of banditry and philosophy around banditry, and that, have what you can hold, and all of those things. Then you have to have a very good system uh in the game for player looting and such. And um he was just too wobbly on the idea, for lack of a better term. He was basically a Care Bear, and he just didn't want to fully invest in developing the game the way it should have been. Um, you can't you can't half measure PvP. It's got to either be all or nothing, separated on servers, do something along those lines. But if you're going to have one server type, then PvP has got to rule the roost. That's what it's going to become. Um, but anyway, I will move on and see what is or was your highest level character overall. Now, back when we were in our teens, we used a lot of Dragon magazines to kind of guide my DM Adams campaign. So my halfling thief acrobat, if I'm remembering back to the early 1980s, he he was a level he was a level 16 thief, and possibly like a level 9 fighter, if I recall correctly, before he became a quasi deity. So we used the dragon magazines to create, to have the characters kind of move up to that quasi deity status. And that was before, I think, Hero Deity came out slightly after that. And then we retired the character. So he was kind of retired as a quasi deity. So he was by far the highest level character I managed to, get to that point. And that was the character that actually survived but did not complete the Tomb of Horrors. Um, he went through Ravenloft and completed Ravenloft. He went through like the caverns of Sargent. He went through Against the Giants, a Vault of the Drow. Went through Queen of the Demon Web Pits. Didn't complete it, but survived it. many of his adventures and our group's adventures, um, you know, we did some of the toughest adventures that were out there. A lot of home brewing, but um, we were also somewhat like we didn't have a problem with bugging out once things started turning to shit. It's like once the shit hit the fan, we were like, all right, we're done here. Once half the party was done, killed, we're like, all right, we're moving on. So that was the one thing. The first time we went through Tomb of Horrors, we used alternate characters. So we used characters just specific for that. And when there was a total group wipe, that's when some of us brought our main characters into the follow-up for that. And after a couple more player characters got killed, the three of us were like, all right, we're getting the hell out of here. And then one of the characters, Steve's character, he actually died on the way out, and really only two of us got out alive. So and we never ventured back into there again. So kind of long, convoluted answer to that, but yeah, that's my highest level character. I've had other characters get to around 12. I had a barbarian character get to about 12 before he was killed. I had a lot of characters. Die early. Couple at mid levels. I lost a character in. It's slipping my mind now. The Tomb of the Lizard King. That's where I lost another character that I had for quite some time. So let's see. We have yes, week 56. We're coming into week 56. We did lose 1 week, so that's 56 play weeks. It would actually should be about 57 if we managed to get a makeup date for when I was on vacation, not this past week, the week prior to. So, but it is 56 sessions between 3 and, on average, anywhere's around 3 to 3.5 hours per session. Character started at 1. The party is now on average level 6, a couple level 7. I believe only one character is just about level 8. That's the druid. They do level up sort of fast, and the thief has got to be close to that as well. I have a few players that have never missed a session, and a couple who came on in session 4, and they've never missed a session. So it's been a very, very consistent group. We started with 10 players, and we kind of launched with 9, and now it's down to about 8. Which is kind of funny when you say it's down to about 8, because 8's a large group still. Hello, Goldie. Good to see you. Hey, ONeal. It's been a while since I've seen you. I know I see you more on Facebook than here on YouTube. So I know you have a channel too. I gotta pop over it and see. Sometimes, like with this group of OSR oriented individuals that I follow, and I follow everybody's channel. I probably follow about 400 different channels, and then I have all these variety of groups on Facebook that I follow, and it's just hard to keep up with when you're following so many. I try to practice reciprocity as much as possible, including on things like Twitter, where it's like I have 700 friends and 700 follow, 700 people I follow and 700 people that follow me. It's kind of, it's kind of hard to keep everybody going. And I have one of my players about to join in. Oh, and he just disconnected all in one shot. I am drinking a little bit of rum since it is Home Alone Day. So, trying to finish off the last bit of my Cannon Blast, Captain Morgan's Cannon Blast. Hey, Mirador, how's it going?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
So, yeah, just doing a Home Alone stream, and I was going to keep on working through my RPG a day stuff and answer some questions, get some people in if they want to join in. I will throw up the link again if anyone wants to pop in. I believe of my subscription I can bring in as many as 10, um, certainly 6, but as many as 10. So if anyone wants to jump in, there's the link. I just put it there. And let's see. So what's going on, Mirador?
Oh, not much. I got some of the Castles and Crusades books have come, and then I got a couple more ordered.
Cool.
I've actually got 2 copies of the Player's Guide to Air. Did you order that one already?
Yeah, I got that already.
Oh, okay. I was going to offer to send you it if you didn't already have it,
No, I
because
already
they
have it. Yeah.
because they sent me. See, when I ordered that,
Hmm.
they sent me an Amazing Adventures book instead of the other book that I ordered. So then when I sent them a message, they sent me a new order, and then they ended up sending both. So I ended up with 2 copies. So
Oh,
I was
that's
going to
cool.
offer you one, but if you already got it, that's fine. I'll
No, I'll
just
see if
eBay it or
somebody else in
something,
the group needs it. Yeah.
or we can see if
Um,
somebody else wants it or something, and I
yeah.
can send it to them or something, I guess.
Yeah,
So I've
you know
got the
what?
Player's Handbook, 2 copies of the Air. I've got the Mystical Companions, and then I've got the Dungeon Master. Well, yeah, the Dungeon Master Guide coming, and the what's the other one I ordered? The Player's Backpack. I've got that. That one's supposed the Player's Backpack and the alternate cover for the Dungeon Master Guide. The theme cover is supposed to be coming this week.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I
Okay.
was going to get the player's backpack, but I might just go with the cards, which I think
Okay.
the cards have the same thing. It's like a deck of cards that has the various backpacks kind of set into it,
Okay.
which I think is kind of cool. So
Okay.
I might go with that.
And I'm hoping that they'll put the alternate covered monster book on sale or something eventually. That they may not, but they did send me an email with a code for 20% off. So I'll probably
Oh, that's cool.
eventually buy something else.
Well, the monster book is it's just not available right now, or
No, well, it's not. I mean, all the ones that I bought, I was able to get them on sale. See, like the
oh,
the
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
the Dungeon Master's Guide, I bought it off the damaged list, so it was
Okay.
like 50% off
Yeah.
to begin with.
Oh, that's
So it
cool.
may have little whatever, I don't know, but
Yeah.
you know, but I got it for 50% off, I think, and then the other one was the same thing. They were both off the damage section. I got one of the last 2 copies they had. So
All right, so let's see what we got here. We have so you've been enjoying Castles and Crusades too. You know what? Um the other day, J. Scott Garibay had mentioned, he was like, wow, there's a lot of people talking lately about Castles and Crusades. And I've noticed the same thing. And I know I've been pushing it pretty hard, but you know, it really does seem to be taking off, and I'm really happy for that because it really is it's an incredible system, and that's really what I'm looking forward to is that more and more people move to this system because um, first of all, Troll Lord Games is a great group of people. Number one, and the fact that they just do printings, they don't do editions. So, which unfortunately I didn't know that when I started, so I started picking up older copies here and there, thinking that I would see some kind of, real difference in it. And it's just formatting difference. So,
yep.
I have my set here, so that's basically what I'm going to be running with. I mean, I'm going to keep my 2 foil originals, but the other ones that I do have, eventually I'm just going to probably give those away, as part of like a subscriber, reward or something. Once the channel hits like 2,500, I'll send a couple books out, and then, if it hits anything higher than that, then I'll look to send beyond that too. So let's see. Goldie alternate covers and old box sets are making me broke. Yeah. I played full cost for everything that I just got. So I laid out like $174. And even though I could have put in for the 50% off as being a veteran, I chose not to, because I do want to support, the work that they're doing there. And so, but anything in the future that I buy, I am going to use that discount, because it just makes more sense, and I'll be able to get that much more stuff. So I'm considering, picking up a few more things, maybe another one of those adventure box sets, because those look really cool. I have one. I want to check out the other ones as well.
So, did you get my little note that I put about how the multi-classing hit point table works? I put it in the Discord.
Yeah, I saw it a little bit. I still have to, I guess. You see, I'm just wondering what the /3 means.
The number after the slash is how many hit points you get per level after 10.
I see. Okay. All right, now I understand it. I thought it was like you roll the die and you divide by 3.
No, it's just that's a flat number of hit points after level 10 for that combo class.
All right. Bella, there's nobody there. Come here. Come on. Nobody's home. My dog walking around. All right, let's see. So let's see. Let's get to the next banner. I don't recall which one I left off on. Holding banner. When did you start? I did that one. Where has that character been? Well, my first character was all Greyhawk. And to tell you the truth, I couldn't remember most of the places that he's been to. He traveled all over the darn place. So a lot of different places in Greyhawk, especially like on the western portions of the place. I think the most eastern he had gone to was like the vast swamp. Then the rest of the time was like Keelland, the Greyhawk, obviously, and in and around that, general area. He moved in. He gone into like the Palmarge and stuff like that. My other character was strictly just in the city of Luskan, which is a Sword Coast. And that was basically it. I didn't play that character very much. All right, got another comment. For information, GameStop has an exclusive magic ring set, cheap but cool. The Target has an exclusive starter set box set of the magic rings. I'll check it out. Yeah, definitely check it out. Let's see. There's a nice solo series going by Mage Hammer. Yes, I know. I do follow his channel as well, and I started picking up on some of his to begin with. So I think he just uploaded a new one, so I have to double check that. I have to go back and watch the first, second, and third again, and just get caught up. Let me double check, and nope. So banners, back to banners again. Why does your character do what he does? Both my characters are thieves, and they are, even though they're not like completely driven by greed, they have no problems with that. They have no problem stealing just for the point of the adventure of stealing and just gathering wealth. And so they're pretty much, typically chaotic neutral, and that's kind of their thing. They have no problem with being criminals. That tends to be the kind of characters I play. I play characters that are, almost always chaotic and typically neutral. I've only played one chaotic evil character in all of my decades of playing. Although one, I guess you could argue she was pretty chaotic evil as well, but for the most part, I've only played maybe two lawful good characters. One more recently, actually Mirador. You probably remember Cedric's campaign that he was running.
Mm-hmm.
He was my dungeon master before he came over to our group.
Yeah.
And I played a lawful good cleric in both of his campaigns. The first one was a D&D campaign, and then we shifted to his homebrew game that he created and finally published actually recently. And the character, I liked the character a lot in the D&D campaign that he was running. Cleric didn't translate as well into the other game system, but he's since modified that quite a bit to kind of recapture that feel. So but that was a pretty cool system. I'm getting a little warning that my connection is unstable, so if things cut out, just let me know. It's gotten better. Little hiccup. I've never seen that before, and it was just giving me a little warning that the connection was unstable. So let's see, any new comments? Nope. So let's get back. We're almost done with the banners. So let's see. How has the character changed? Neither of them have changed. So that's pretty easy. And what is your favorite cover art? I mean, that's such a broad question. I mean, especially for someone who has been playing role-playing games for as long as I have, since 1977. And I have all of those Dragon magazines. I mean, so many of those great covers there. You have the Jeff Easley covers from AD&D First Edition. You have I have the covers here from Castles and Crusades. I mean, some of these covers are just phenomenal. So here is the homage to the original Player's Handbook. Yeah. All right, so that's kind of what they're doing. You can kind of see. I know it's kind of hard to see.
I kind of wish I hadn't already bought a copy
Yeah.
of it before I bought. Now I kind of want that cover instead, but I've already bought a copy of it. So I'm like, and it's not that much. It's not going to be that much different, right? Because they're
exactly the same. It's just different covers and everything. So here is the Castle Keeper's Guide. And
that's again, the one I'm waiting for.
Yeah. So there's the Castle Keeper's Guide, and here is the Monster Manual with its homage to the original.
Yeah. That's the one I want. Yeah.
And that's really sweet. Just love this cover. And they are currently working on the Manual of the Planes.
That's going to be great.
And that's going to be great as well.
I just got my first edition one finally.
Yeah.
So that was the last one I was waiting for my first edition collection.
Is there anything different with the editions? No. Ironcaster, there aren't editions of Castles and Crusades. It is just printings. Now, there is only 3 changes that have occurred since 2004. And 2 of these changes, or maybe even all 3, occurred around 2010. And there was a change to the Barbarian to the monk, and to the encumbrance system. All of those, I believe, came in 2010. The only difference now between, let's say, my 2010 Player's Handbook and the current one, which is 2021, is the formatting's a little different, the layout's a little different. It's been reorganized and possibly cleaned up a little bit, different art, additional art, and just all meant to make the presentation of the information a little bit more accessible, with very, very few and minor, like I wouldn't even say they're rule changes. They're just more clarifications that they found are just a better way of laying it out. Like when I did my video today, I talked about the attribute system, and it just slipped my mind. The attribute system, and then the way to do resolutions, and tests and resolutions and stuff. And I like to use the term target number. All right, so that it's very, very clear. Your target number is what you're trying to roll to. All right. And they use the term, they're using the term of a base, and I'm totally drawing a blank. They just use the same term in a slightly different way to mean something else, right? So there's the there's the challenge, there's the challenge base, and then the challenge level. And to me, there shouldn't be a challenge base is a target number. So don't call it a channel base and a channel level. Call it target number and a challenge level. That way you have two separate terms, because they both mean something very different. And I think it just makes it a lot easier to understand for someone when you're talking about a target number as being, this is what you need to roll, in order to be successful. Dwarves Deep, one of the absolute favorite covers. Goldie, I'm not sure which cover that you're referring to. Maybe you get to it. That's what I meant, the printings, because there's like 8 of them. Yeah, so if you don't have any, get the most recent one. That's the bottom line. Unless you want to get the ones that were the foil ones back in 2006. Everything else, just get the most recent that you can and just stick with those. I might have to move my dog to the bed. You want up? I will be right back. 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, my dog she hates it when particularly my wife is out. So, although she's been pretty good so far, but yeah, she hates it. Okay. Yeah, I mean the 6th to the 8th, they're almost essentially the same book.
Yeah, I actually went to the used bookstore. They had a copy of the sixth and the seventh, and I literally went through page by page. And the only thing that was different was there was some typesetting formatting differences. That's it between the sixth and seventh. So I ended up buying the sixth because it was slightly damaged, and they were charging $10 less for it used. So
Yeah. Hey, you know what? They really don't matter. Like I said, I I kind of went crazy with just picking up as many as I could, and I really thought I needed, those, and then I got the other ones because I wanted to see how they changed over time. And then I realized I was like, wow, that was kind of a waste. So, like I said, I'll probably give them away, or my niece does do some role playing, although she just does 5e right now. Um, and I'll probably give her a set. That way she can kind of move on to something else. I'll probably give her the rest of my 5e stuff too, because I just don't have the bookshelf for it. And I'd rather give it away than have it take up room on my shelf. Yes, the older artwork. I mean, I really think that best some of the best covers came out of the TSR era, of of the hobby in general. I mean, whether it be Caldwell or Easley or any of the others. Plus, I mean, other than that, maybe Savage Sword of Conan had some pretty phenomenal covers as well. So you'd be hard pressed during the 70s and 80s to find better cover art. Maybe Molly Hatchet, Molly Hatchet album covers might top there too. So, but for the most part, I mean, all of that stuff back then, cover art was just the thing. It was cool stuff. Okay, so let's see. My sixth printing was a VRPG a day one with a limited run, found in use section in the store. Cool. Yeah, the early books have phenomenal art, but I can't help but wonder what a D&D piece done by Alex Ross would look like. Yeah, I wonder what some of the what would Frazettas look like? What would some of those really good comic book artists have done with like Norum or um John Buscema or Ernie Chan, and just a lot of those. I mean, they're all pretty much Savage Sword of Conan artists, but they did awesome stuff back then too. Some of those covers were just phenomenal and would have gone well with either Dragon magazine or cover art then on the hardcovers as well. So let's see. So Castles and Crusades is like my new kind of jam there, and really looking forward to running at least one session, possibly two, because again, as I said earlier on, I have probably about 8 to 10 players looking to be involved. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do the campaigns. I might, for the first start off, just to really familiarize myself with the system, is to do the box set module, which starts at first level and moves you through a number of levels, and that way I can learn about the world kind of piecemeal, as well as the game system, and really lock down the game system in my mind, and then I'll start considering writing different content for it. Um, it's going to be a while before I go to a convention to run anything. My next convention I'm going to is in September, and that's which is not that far off, actually. It's a Shire Con in Connecticut, and looking forward to that. And I'm just playing, so that'll be a good playing experience. Not running anything, just playing in 2 game sessions, and then it's all a 1 day, a 1 day con, and do some shopping, do some meet and greets. So I'm looking forward to that. And the only other person I know of that's going there and running a game, unfortunately I couldn't get in his game, is Eric Tenkar is going to be there, and he's running a game. Like I said, I couldn't get in his game, but at least I'll be able to meet him. I was unfortunately not able to get to VentureCon back in July. Airfare was just too expensive, and I wasn't confident that I could drive 15 hours in one direction, one way. And
the gas probably would have been about the same as cost of the airfare.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, because at that time too, the gas was still like almost $5 a gallon. So yeah, it would have cost me a fortune no matter what. I was like, a 3-day event is going to cost me $1,200, and I was like, I just couldn't justify it. So not with a vacation to the Bahamas just right around the corner from there. So there was no way I was going to be able to do it. So I'm looking forward to this local con. I'll look to see if there's anything else local after that, and I may make the trip if, again, airfare is much cheaper. Eventually go to like a Gary Con, or maybe probably a Gary Con before I go to anything else, and hopefully I can meet the same people I'm looking to meet at Gary Con rather than one of the smaller ones, or I'll make it out to VentureCon and do that in Madison, Wisconsin instead. So we'll see. We'll see which one I get out to. But certainly something, and I definitely want to run something at those. I've done them virtually before, but that would be cool. So let's see. Any other news going on? I know I've been following the stuff from OneD&D, and just looking at some of the changes. I did a live stream talking about the play test, and there's a lot of things that I see with the play test that I'm like, all right, that's kind of silly. It is not backwards compatible beyond 5th edition, so it's only backwards compatible to 5th edition. Anybody with the thought that was going to be fully backwards compatible all the way, back to either 1974 or 1990 or 2006, no, it just goes back to 2014. That's it. So it's basically only backwards compatible to 5th edition. And really what it looks like they're doing with it is they're just taking what was put out from Tasha's Moving Forward and putting it into the rule book. So it's no longer part of the supplement. It's part of the rules. And so that's that's kind of a turnoff for me. It's like, all right, that's no appeal to me whatsoever, because I'm a firm believer in forcing the players to make meaningful choices when they're creating their characters. And it's like when you're selecting, when you roll your dice and you see what your attribute scores are, then you start thinking about, well, what character class will these dice rolls actually fit in well? And still a character class that I want to play. Oh, wait, there's a character class I want to play, but I'm like 1 point off. But if I take this race, then I will have this modifier in order to play that character class that I want. So now I have the character that I want with the, the race that I had to take in order for the attributes to rise to that level. And now I can start looking at the next aspect, of character creation, that will later lead into character development. And is it exactly what I wanted? Maybe not. But if you're a really good role player, you'll work with it, and that's what it's all about. It's about, working with what you rolled, seeing how to make that match up. And if you have to tweak it, you're tweaking it for the reason of, you're tweaking it for the reason of being able to role play the character that you want to, play, and not just, mechanical decisions, or min-maxing decisions, because otherwise it's like, well, if everybody has infravision, or dark vision, or whatever they want to call it, then there's no humans, there's no, there's no halflings. Everybody has the same movement rate now. All right. So if you're a halfling, you're 3.5 feet tall, or you're a 6'7" athletic human, you both have the same movement rate. Does that make any sense? Absolutely not. It's just all right. Your race and your race, and your size makes no difference anymore. It's completely meaningless. It's strictly cosmetic, and there's no game mechanic behind race or size any longer. Yes, I mean it's every aspect of it just makes it easier. And then they're they want to get rid of the criticals. And then I even listen to Crawford talking about why they're looking to do this, and why he thinks it's it's a terrible thing for a first level character to actually die. It was like, no, that sets the tone. If it does happen, and it's still not easy to happen, even in 5e, it is not easy to have or especially in 5e, I should say, but even in like first edition AD&D, it's not easy to have a first level character die, except for maybe a magic user, with just 4 hit points. Most DMs, and when I say most, probably 99% of the DMs out there are going to give a starting character maximum hit points at first level. I think that is so common that it literally is at the 99% level. And I think it would be hard pressed to find a single table in 1,000 that doesn't do that. So that's even built in. And again, if the dungeon master isn't a total clown, he or she is going to be able to manage where, yes, a surprise roll could kill a character. But that's just the nature of the game. I mean, in our game, Mirador, I think, was it Crandon was the first character to, and that wasn't even a critical hit. So Crandon was a first or possibly second level thief, and he took an 8-point hit. That he was already wounded. That's what it was. And then he took an 8-point hit that brought him to -4. And I was like, holy crap. I mean, as soon as he took that scimitar hit, I know exactly what it was. It was an orc with a scimitar, and he caught it right across the torso. And it was 8 points of damage, brought him immediately to -4.
And I jumped over the table and put my shield up.
Yeah.
And
You tried to take you took the next attacks, even put yourself at a disadvantage, sacrificed everything else just to get to him.
Yeah.
And he had to make his system shock. He
did, and then I
Yeah,
healed
he
him.
did. And then you healed him just to get him back up to, back up to 0 or whatever it was. And then he was incapacitated for, for the rest of the time. I think the next one to go into that position was the Paladin.
Yeah.
Was the Paladin. And then most recently, the Druid just got,
Mm-hmm.
she got knocked down to -6.
Mm-hmm.
And, had to make her system shock. And she was the lowest of them, right? She was the only one to go as low as -6. But we've had several other characters. I think the fighter
she actually had got scarred, I think.
Yeah, she got scarred from her from the ice storm spell that she got slapped with. But yeah, so we haven't had we had an NPC got killed, which would have been, just by sheer luck, would have been Crandon again, the thief, and that would have killed the thief. He was like, damn, that definitely would have killed me. That would have brought him down to like -10 in one hit. And I was like, it was a damn good thing, because it was literally just a D6 roll, 3 different potential characters, and it happened to be the NPC that took that hit. That was from an Ankeg, and killed that guy outright. So there are meaningful reasons for both role playing, for narrative, for cinematics, that you keep critical hits and critical failures in play for both sides, for both the player characters and for NPCs and monsters. Otherwise, you are just stripping the game of any real risk and surprise and action and everything that goes along with it. It's like just producing such a boring game that they're looking to produce. Yep. Yeah, that gets back to character creation. If you're kind of not forced, I mean, I've seen things like, would you play a broken character? Sure, until he dies, and then you just re-roll the character. There's no such thing as a real broken character. I mean, so you have a character who has, not a single attribute above 9. I guess it's possible, right? So you have a fairly weak character in comparison to a regular human from the monster manual. You're still going to be dramatically superior in comparison. All right, because you will have levels, you will level up, you will have access, if you survive, to magic and other things. You're surrounded by a party of adventurers as well that can assist you along the way. There's just so much advantage that you have, even if your character has some low attributes. Hey, Derek, man. To build name recognition.
Hey,
yes.
Did you buy that? Did you buy that Starship Warden before it was gone?
No, I looked at. You know what? It's, again, I just got back from vacation, and so I'm looking at it, and I was like, God, $120, and I just didn't. I just didn't do it. Because it was that and another thing, and I was like, I just got to, I just have to recover, a little bit. The Bahamas is not a cheap trip, so it was like, it was a biggie. Love the vacation, but at $7,000 vacation is pretty steep.
Yep.
That's pretty cool too. I mean, first level, I just give him max. You know, and yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I feel bad when somebody rolls a 1. Did I let you guys re-roll a 1 at least once?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it can't be maximum.
Right.
You know, or I could average it out if I wanted to do that. But for the most part, it's like I wouldn't do that at
Yeah.
upper levels anyway. It's like it is what it is. All right. I just had somebody send me an email. Let me.
Oh,
Is someone trying to jump in? No.
yeah.
I just
So
sent.
so they're adding. So they're gonna have Castles and Crusades on the Foundry. You said, right?
Yes, they already started doing the. They already started putting in the character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And so the character sheet is done. I'm still trying to figure out the system. I haven't looked at it in the last couple of days because I was actually working last week up until Thursday, and so I didn't, have a chance to look at it again. I'll probably take a look at it a little bit later. I'll wait till they get caught up and put some more into it because, and I have to watch some tutorials and everything. It was a $50 one-time cost. I was like, all right, fine. If I can move away from Roll20 and move to that, that way, I can eliminate a paid service for one that's a, free service
Okay.
or one-time cost service, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Like the old days when you could just buy
Okay.
a piece of software and use it, and that was it. Now
Yeah.
everybody wants to. Oh, that's $5 per month,
Yeah.
and then if you don't pay, then we shut you off. And you're like, well, what happens to all my documents? Oh, they're locked in the cloud. We'll keep them when you ever decide you want to sign back up.
All right. OGGM, I just threw in the link in an email to you if you want to jump in, or I will put this link in here. So I believe either another 5 or potentially another 8 people can join in with that link. So let's see. We have General Nut. Hey, how's it going? But that way everyone gets a gold star. Yes, there's no participation trophies in my D&D. That's for sure. I mean, you do get extra experience points if you do a particularly good role playing, or you're, particularly, like a super heroic act. But, short of that, you're going to get it from combat and treasure and, time spent, playing, and that's it. No, I've never played Weird Fantasy. I've heard of it, but I've never actually played it. I just put the text. I sent you an email, OGGM, and the link to the. Let's see if I could send you a private chat. I don't know how to do that. Chat with everyone in the studio. No. How do you send a private chat? I don't see how you do that. Yeah, you have to jump into StreamYard to actually get it going. But I have sent it out there. All right, so let's see. Piedar. Hey, everyone. How's it going? Evening. Goldie, it's hard to kill PCs in 5th edition. Do they get a bunch of saves? Yes, they do. It's like reverse saves, right? You have to fail 3 times in order to die. So it's not like AD&D where Hey,
Like,
I got you, OG.
What's up? What's up?
Not like
Yep.
a D&D where
I'm getting feedback.
What's
it's
up?
not like
So, yeah. So what we do in my campaign in AD&D is that if you take 50% of your maximum damage in a single hit, you have to make a a system shock check. Otherwise, you die. So it's so if you have 50 hit points, you take 25 hit points in a single strike, and you fail your system shock check, you've died from shock. I mean, you're basically, just died. You're the equivalent of being at, below zero, and you will have all the scarring and everything like that. Now, could you be resurrected? Absolutely. If there's access to resurrection spells. We haven't had that happen yet, but again, it came close with our druid, and it almost came close the second time. I think she was only like 1 or 2 points away. If that had hit somebody else, that would have killed them, or vice versa. If it hit her, it would have killed her. But it hit, I believe that hit Alan, our group paladin, and so he was able to take that hit much better than she would have been. So let's see. There's no death saving throw when I plane shift them to the plane of fire. Wow, yes. It's that's the other thing that they talk about, all of this, extra plane travel from this place to that place, and they're forgetting the fact that all kinds of systems don't work the same depending on what plane you go to. All right.
No, I'm pretty sure they got rid of that.
All right, I got you now. All right, so you're in now, OGGM?
For now.
Yes, for now. So let's see. Lol, rationale. Rational, all right. So let's see. We got my favorite covers of the era were Jim Holloway and David R. Dietrich. Yes. I mean, there's so much. There are just, there's too many. Like for that question to be part of the RPG a day is like, what's your favorite cover? It's like, oh my God. I mean, there's 1,000 favorite covers, you know what I'm saying? It was, especially during the TSR era of D&D, and then you add in all of the, the other cover art that you have from other game systems. I mean, I can't just talk about D&D here. I could bust out the Modifius's cover art is awesome. Across the board, anything in the Conan book is just phenomenal stuff. You have the One Ring, that has great artwork. You have
the artwork of anything from DCC is awesome too.
Yeah. I mean, it has a totally different, a different feel. Yeah, you have different types of art that are out there as well. That it's just like Runehammer has a certain style to his.
Hank's art's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, the Red Room has like the artwork that they use for their adventure modules with like the textured look of like newspaper, and the images that they use. Venture Satanis, I love the vibrant imagery that he uses, and just there's so much awesome artwork out there, and all throughout the OSR. There's just incredible artwork in the OSR today. There was incredible artwork in D&D in the 70s and 80s, especially the 80s. And then you go to the art of comic books, especially like Savage Sword, which I think was as far as cover art was concerned, with some like really awesome stuff out there as well. So it's the one place I don't find the art all that impressive as with 5e stuff. It's just not. It in comparison, there's no comparison.
Well, because we can't have the art offend anybody.
Yeah. Viator, I do every point you lose. Like, so once you start bleeding, every time you lose a point, you take you have to make a system shock check at that negative to your constitution. So let's say you start at a 10 constitution and you get brought to -4. So at -4, you're going to make a system shock check with a 6 constitution, not a 10.
Yeah.
All right. And then if you go to -5 because you're bleeding out, you will then take a system shock check at a 5 constitution. So every time you lose a point, it becomes harder and harder to make that system shock check. And if you fail any of them, you're dead.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. You go to -10, you're dead. You cannot be, you cannot be. That's the one thing I haven't really gotten into. Like, imagine if your body just gets obliterated. You can't be resurrected. There's nothing left of you.
Strongest person finger.
Yeah. It's like, all right, so the dragon fire, reduces you to to -40 hit points. It's like you're gone. You're a shadow blasted on the wall, kind of thing. It's like, there's nothing to get back from you. Kind of like that, from Rocky when Drago says, if he dies, he dies. It's like, that's just the way it goes.
As it should be.
So I think old school focuses more on team. Not being able to die seems to encourage the I'm the star mentality. Yeah. I mean, it's like the team really does have to pull together. And it does become like a snowball effect. It's like one team member dies, it weakens the entire team. They really have to start coordinating much differently. They have to almost immediately start thinking about, all right, how do we get ourselves out of this? That should be the mentality right away, is like, how do we start? And that's the thing that I think modern players just aren't used to, that old school AD&D players had to learn fast. And that was, you can't fight every fight. You have to be ready to flee, in a lot of cases, and that was more so back then than, than in modern gaming now. Is just the idea, I mean, Call of Cthulhu, kind of drilled that into you as well. It was like, there's only 3 outcomes in Call of Cthulhu. All right. You've gone insane, you've died, or you completely abandoned the adventure and hope that nothing ever finds you again. You just disappeared. There was no winning. You couldn't win in Call of Cthulhu. You could only, hopefully survive and never engage again. That's why very, very few characters of H.P. Lovecraft's actually did multiple adventures. All right. And that's how the game played too. It was like very rarely did anybody come back for a second adventure. I was like, oh, I had enough of that shit. I'm moving someplace far, far away from here.
It may not have been a one shot, but it is a one adventure. Once you've done one adventure, that character is done in Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. It's like, hey, hello, Ian. That's a new face as well. So I see a lot of new people popping in. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Some good streams today. First Dungeon Minister, now this. All right, cool. I recently followed his channel too. It's like I follow like 400 channels. So sometimes people kind of get lost in the mix. But I do know his channel. I've been to his channel a few times. I know I missed his interesting channel, Ian. Yeah. Yeah, he has a cool, there's a lot of great channels out there.
And you should
and
subscribe to them all.
I subscribe to a lot of them. Can't quite subscribe to them all, but I do subscribe to his, like I said, I probably have about 400 that I subscribe to. Probably even more than that. I love the margin art and the original DMG. Okay, let's see.
Oh yes, Gelatin Cube.
Oh, that's your favorite OGGM.
It is. Slimes are my favorite.
Yes.
You don't have to justify slimes.
I saw someplace someone wrote an article about the most dangerous thing in the monster manual is a black pudding.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess it's
anything that can dissolve all your stuff.
I just completed the core. All right.
You don't have to explain slime. You don't have to justify slime. That's why slime and undead are great.
Yeah.
Is there slime in the closet? It's slime. I don't have to explain why the slime's in the closet.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
I just cleaned this floor, cat.
Yes, I am dog sitting. I am home alone and dog sitting. But my dog has been actually very good today. She ate when she was supposed to eat. She came up without me having to go too crazy trying to pick her up and bring her upstairs. She doesn't climb upstairs. She fell down maybe twice down the full flight of stairs, and she's never done it again.
Oh.
So she doesn't climb stairs.
She's learned her lesson.
Yeah. She just, my wife carries her. Well, whatever. So she's got lazy. Getting back in the fight, you're dragging yourself away from harm. I missed something here. I admit I'm going easy on the players a bit. My system of death saves, but many players are 5e players. Torture them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shock them into realizing that, you cannot be heroic if you are not facing great adversity, I should say.
Yeah.
Before the challenge rating construct. You know what? I'm gonna mention this. And Worst Cat, nice to meet you. Nice to have you here. You're another new face, new avatar. So, when I was on D&D Beyond trying to create a scenario, I believe I put a party of 5 players, first level characters, and then I created a scenario where they were going to fight 5 kobolds and 1 kobold lieutenant. And it made this encounter something like super red, like this was death. And I was like, how the hell could a party of 5 first level characters not be able to handle 5 kobolds and 1 2-hit die lieutenant? And it rated it as every single configuration that I tried to do, every scenario that I tried to create, it was always, this is death. And I was like, a party of 5 can face 2 kobolds? Is that what the system was? I mean, I didn't mess with it after that, but I was like, this is ridiculous that, they just discourage you from making truly challenging, scenarios for them to face, and quite literally in any other system, it's like, if there's 5 first level characters, you should be able to stack them up against 7, possibly even 8 1-hit die creatures, or just like I said, that scenario that I laid out there. I mean, a first level character has so many different layers of ability that there's
Well, yeah, 5e first level characters is Batman.
yeah,
It should have
it's like
maybe it was saying it was red for the kobolds. The kobolds had no chance of winning.
yeah, it should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just
But,
discouraging.
If they win initiative, the wizard gets off sleep. Those kobolds are dead.
I saw a man turned into soup. I think I'm done with this nonsense. I'm getting confused by some of those things.
Yeah.
But hey, in 5e, if you're turned into soup, they'll serve you up at the at the cafe.
Strixhaven buffet, yeah.
Yes, yeah, the Strixhaven buffet. You become the Soylent Green patty on Strixhaven.
Yeah.
Danger promotes critical thinking. My players could have had to fight a Lich and a Golem at level 7, but they used their wits and got the 2 to fight instead. Yes.
Yeah. It's just it's simple things like
yeah.
In the 5e game I'm in, the constant thing is always I can't do anything, you know. So I bought everybody in the party bows. So I was like, you have no reason to complain you can't do anything. You can always shoot this bow. But I'm at disadvantage. You can still pull the thing and shoot the bow. But they just don't think that way.
Yeah.
If it was 1E or any other game, I know everybody would be like begging for an extra way to hit somebody.
Right.
If they were, negative on like disadvantage or whatever. Sure, buy me a bow, please.
Yeah. This is the one comment, modern players would not be able to deal with old school level drain. That would drive them nuts.
No, yeah, because you take away their agency, and that's what that's what they think. The audience wants is that they don't want to be hurt. They want to just be handheld. But
the point is that all you do is removing one milestone. They probably earned that level in just one session.
Oh God,
you know what I'm saying it's like
2 levels sometimes.
Yeah,
milestones are ridiculous.
You cannot be heroic when facing great diversity. Yes, noted. You cannot be heroic when not facing great adversity. Sorry, when facing great diversity. I don't know if you're playing on words or taking my Freudian slip. Let's see. Run its pugs. I have a Shih Tzu. So true. Rational Ginger. Where is Rational Ginger? Danger promotes critical thinking. Yes. Yeah, it really does. Like when you have a true sense of danger, like so my players, Mirador being one of my players. My players are starting to get to the level band. So they're 6, 7, and potentially one is about 8, or she might be eligible for 8 the next time that they get a chance to train. And once you start getting into that level band in AD&D First Edition, you're going to start dealing with creatures that can hit for a wallop, whether it be breath weapons or energy drain or giants. Like they were like, oh, we want to. That was the one thing. I don't know if you're on Mirador. Yeah, I see that you're muted, but they're like, yeah. We want to do it against the giants. I was like, guys, no. You're still only 6 level. Yes, there's 8 of you, but even a hill giant can hit you for like 24 points in one club. It's like
and see, I'm the highest level cleric, and I have first level heals that do a D8, and then I have one level 4 that does 2d8. So they're thinking that I'm going to be able to keep them healed for giants. It's not going to happen.
No, I was like, no, that against the giants is what it's like 7 to 9, and that's
I don't know. I have it on the shelf here somewhere.
That's for the first one. That's just for the hill giants is like 7 to 9.
Let me see.
It might even be 9 to 12.
It's in my other book. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I only have it on PDF, so I can't pull it up right now.
Let me find it. It's in one of my notebooks here.
So let's see.
It's...
Party of 5 would be too busy arguing.
Yeah, it's
about whether
it's 3 adventures from 8 to 12. So no way.
8 to 12.
No way.
Yeah, so yeah, you're nowhere near it, even
No.
though you have a slightly larger party. You wouldn't be able to take those big hits, and even if the big hit made, did 50% damage, 50% of your maximum damage, then you're still making a roll to see if
And
you
we just
survive
took out
that.
in the last session. We took on what? In 3 encounters, we took on what? 12 trolls, and we burned through all our spells,
Everything, yes.
all of our offensive fire spells
Yeah.
that we needed to take to destroy them permanently. I was burning bodies with torches because they were out of fire.
Yeah.
So there's no
Yeah.
way that's gonna happen. No module's gonna happen. way we
Not
can do
yet.
that.
No, not quite yet. When you're typically with first edition, you had to be like 2 levels higher, than what they recommended. You had to be at the upper portion of it. Because I mean, look at how many times that you had to go in and out of Queskaton. How many times you had to go in and out of Keep on the Borderlands.
Because we had, like you said, we had the thief got knocked down, so we had to go out and train and rest him for a week, and then we went back in. And in the first or second session, we went back in. The paladin got knocked down, and so then we had to drag him around on a litter for 3 weeks until we could get him out.
It was just nuts. It was just and again, not pulling any punches. I mean, I mean, presently, I certainly make all of my roles public, so that everybody can see. But I mean, it was just, some people might say, "Oh, it can't be that bad." There's, none of your characters died after 56 sessions, but I believe we're up to about 7 times primary player characters have been reduced to negative hit points.
Eek.
So could have very easily have been 7 deaths in 56 sessions, where they just got and someone, I forget who it was, just barely made the system shock roll.
I think it was Leah.
I think Leah just barely, by 2 points, he made it. It was like, holy crap. So that would have been, that would have been really tough, because it was just before she
wasn't level 7 yet, so she couldn't change shape.
Right. So our druid, her whole character concept was to be able to get to the level where she could change into a sparrow, and she nearly died just before she had the XP to go up the level, but she hadn't gone to the town yet in order to get trained to gain it. So she nearly died before she would have hit that level. And that would have been like, oh crap, that would have really sucked. We wouldn't have ended the game session immediately.
I don't know who said that, but that's stupid.
There would have had to have certainly been like a regroup, and I'm sure vengeance would have been up the yin yang, with that. But
and then then you let the person who died play the monsters.
Yeah, but no one would be like, oh, we have to stop right now and end the session immediately.
Get you to an emergency.
And we killed the monster within like 1 or 2 rounds after I had to stabilize her. I dragged her. I dragged her out. I didn't even get her all the way dragged out of the temple before everybody else killed the monster.
Yeah. Yeah, it
I was
was.
dragging her out and holding behind my shield, and then somebody else managed to finally kill the monster, the boss.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Those epic heroic moments just don't happen now.
Yeah, that was a long. That was that an 11. That was 11 round boss battle,
Yeah.
or very close to it. Yeah, that was an 11 rounder. So that was
Yeah.
a really cool fight, and again a lot of really good thinking in that combat, because it was actually the druid, like Leah actually made it, like thought of the idea of severing those tendrils, which would prevent the other ones from even activating, its little pods activating, so she was able to sever some of those ties, and that's also what led to those two people in those pods to survive. The fact that those were the only ones that survived, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing basically killed like 26 NPCs.
No, yeek.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at Troll Lord's website. Looks like that sheet that I linked is actually downloadable for free from their site too.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Anybody who gives you a free sheet gets my plus bonus.
Yep. It's got a free fillable character sheet. That's apparently somebody just reposted it. That link I gave you, somebody must have just reposted a copy of it. But you can download it from their site, looks like, for free. So that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments about, level drain, and yes, it was extremely brutal. I think one of the worst situations was when you get
Trying to do the math was always the brutal part.
when you get teleported into the coffin laying on top of a white in Ravenloft. It's like bang, you just lost 2 levels of 2 levels right there, as soon as you went, before you could do a damn thing. Ravenloft was another adventure that was just out of this world, tough adventure. Certainly doable, but you weren't coming out of there unscathed. I mean, you were definitely leaving that adventure, possibly with fewer levels than you went in, and that's without a doubt. The other one was the Lizard King adventure, the Tomb of the Lizard King. You had a Lizard King vampire in that. I mean, he was just kick ass. So yeah, D&D had some really, really tough modules. So let's see. Not as roleplay punishment, but a lasting consequence for misfortune. Yes, and that's why there's a lot of things. Like, I know the OGGM was talking on his channel. Yes, he was talking in his channel about different alternatives to critical strike.
Yes.
And
My finding the loophole in the new stupid rule.
Yeah, so
If that stays.
and some of those, I don't think it is going to stay. Although Crawford came out with another video where, I think that Perkins should get Crawford as far away from making public comments.
Yes, we need the real Chris Perkins back, not this straw dog Chris Perkins.
Yeah, Perkins sometimes has to come in and backpedal on the nonsense that Crawford says.
Yes.
But what you were talking about was alternatives, and that really got me thinking. One thing you could do with the alternative is, if you're rolling an extra D6 because you've just done, a critical on your first, on your attack, have that be damage to the armor.
Yeah, I like that.
Which I guarantee you, players would lose their shit over it too. When it's like, what? He just did damage. You can't heal my armor. You know what I'm saying? Now I got to get this shit repaired. Wait, it was a it was a +2 chainmail that's now damaged. So not only do I have to get the chainmail itself, but I might have to re-enchant it. I might have to, think of the costs, of repairing this darn thing. It would drive them nuts. But I was like, hey, at least your character's still alive.
Yeah.
It might cost you 20,000 gold pieces to fix your armor. But
you didn't take the extra 2d6. It's fine, but you just got swallowed whole. I mean, fair.
That's the other thing. I mean,
my monsters can't do double damage anymore, but there's a lot of other things.
I like the picture. I think it's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, where the fighter jumps behind the mage because there's a rust monster in front of him.
Yeah.
Hide me.
Gygax's amazing wandering traps.
Yes, there's loopholes in WotC's rules forever now, apparently, or until it finally dies. Well, that's why I call it done D&D. All right, because I think it's done. I think I've always said it, that until Tasha's 5e was still workable, but beginning with Tasha's, now fortunately Tasha's was a complete supplemental. You didn't have to use it at all. Now what they're doing is they're taking Tasha's and they're making it part of the rules. All right, and so it is no longer D&D, even under, you can't even say, well, that's just an optional rule now. It is no longer D&D as soon as they incorporate that into the book. If you do not have differentiation between the races as far as attribute modifiers, traits, if it's just, movement rates, which is ridiculous. The other travesty that I read was, who the hell wrote the description of orcs and Gruamsh? Gruamsh through his grace. What the hell grace does Gruamsh have? I mean, do they even understand what that word means? Evil deities have no grace. There's no. It was just the most ridiculous thing I've read. It totally. It doesn't just change the fact that orcs were created to be a scourge on the earth, that to kill everything in their path. All right, they were meant to be a plague, and they made it like, well, they were put into a dangerous world. No, they were the danger.
Yeah.
They weren't put into a dangerous world. They were the danger for the world. And I mean, I don't know. I know you printed it out, so I'm sure you've read it. But
I have it. Yeah.
It's just amazing to me. Like, who the hell that has to be Crawford.
Well, I mean, the who was it? Blanco said that he's pretty sure, and I agree, that it was written overnight at the last minute.
Yeah.
They just got 3 guys, and they're like, dude, the thing's coming up. We got to come up with something. And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know how you could write that and think that that's going to fly. If that becomes the canon of what D&D is going to become, with all of there'll be no evil races left. I mean, I know they don't want them, but the point is that there's.
Yeah.
That's not just taking orcs and saying, well, there's some orcs that are evil. No, that's completely changing the entire creation mythology of orcs. All right. And it's not just changing them, it's changing their deity too. So it's like it's just so far beyond, and it really pushed D&D, which was only PG-13 to begin with, and it really made a rated G version of it.
Yeah,
because that's how it read. This is the rated G version of Dungeons and Dragons.
It's a mess right now.
Grays as compared to orcs. Nothing written after. Yeah, well, that's what I would say. Nothing written after 2014, but he said before.
Yeah.
And
But he
then
backpedaled
Perkins
on
had to
that.
jump in and say, "Oh no, that's not what we're saying. Whatever happens at your table is canon," which is an absolute fact. I'm going to read it to you. Actually, I'm going to read it to you because it's painful. It's literally painful. I might have to take another shot of rum just to get through this. Let's find orcs. It literally is painful, but it's worth the second read just for. Here we go. Orcs trace their creation to Gruamsh, the one-eyed god, an unstoppable warrior and powerful leader. Gruamsh armed his children with certain gifts to help them thrive on worlds beset by monsters. Even when they turned their devotion to other gods, orcs retained the gifts that the one-eyed god bestowed upon them: might, endurance, determination, and the ability to see in the dark. Orcs are on average tall and broad. They have gray skin, ears that are small and slightly pointed, and prominent lower canines that resemble small tusks. Young orcs are often told about their ancestors' ancient conflicts with elves in the forest, dwarves under the mountains, and invaders from evil planes of existence. Inspired by
just cribbing the orcs from World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Inspired by those tales, young orcs often wonder when Gruamsh will call on them to match the heroic deeds of their ancestors, and if they will prove worthy of the one-eyed god's grace.
That's totally the orcs from World of Warcraft. If I was Blizzard, I'd sue them.
It's like this is not D&D orcs.
No, they're the World of Warcraft orcs.
Yeah, it's like, and even the World of Warcraft orcs were they weren't portrayed as being potentially good until the freaking movie.
Well, no, I mean in the game they're
which one? World of Warcraft?
Yeah,
I mean the online game, the
MMO.
The MMO, when were they good? They were always meant to be
good. They're just, different.
Right. Because they were part of the Horde, and when you had PvP, they were always considered they were the enemy.
Yeah.
Unless you were on their side, but it was like they were the quote, but they were the bad guys. All girl orcs love grooms.
It's funny because the people who are most complaining about the changes are the people that the changes are directed to.
Yeah, like I haven't seen that because I really don't follow Wizards of the Coast anywhere. Like as far as like their general, like on Twitter or anything like that. I guess that's where you're seeing it. Yeah, is on Twitter.
Yeah, the one that was upset because all orcs had aggression, and then there was somebody else who was upset because anybody could have sign language now, when it meant their character that sign language wasn't special anymore, and the one about the crossbreeding races, and it's like these are all the people that we're referring to as sparkle trolls.
Yeah,
the ones that Wizards of the Coast is trying to placate, and they're the ones who are saying, "This is awful. Your reverse racism is still racism."
Yeah.
Well, it's just like everything else. They don't have. It sounds like they don't have the nerve to stand up and say, "Well, this is the way it is. If you don't like it, don't play our game."
Exactly.
But they don't have the guts to say that. So
The wrath of the Twitter mob is powerful, but Hasbro's sitting up and taking notice.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if Wizards of the Coast gets restructured again.
Well, I think
right,
that
well-
I think that the move is towards making a video game.
Well, my wife is fixing to get off from work, so I'm going to have to drop out. Been fun.
All right.
Man,
You have a
Nice
good one,
meeting
Mirador.
See you.
Take it
Talk to
easy.
you on Tuesday,
Yeah.
of course.
Yep. See you at
Right.
Game Time Tuesday.
this
Bye-bye.
guy has a blog. Sub to it.
Yeah. I think that they're going to move towards having a very integrated system of tabletop PDFs directly to their one bookshelf vendor for PDFs, and then tie that directly into the virtual tabletop.
Yeah.
Where, if you buy the book from them, hardcover book directly from them, you automatically get the link to download the PDF. The PDF will then provide you, that can be brought right into the tabletop with all of the assets that come with the purchase that you got only from Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, you're going to have to buy it from Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
They're not going to give the code to Target because they know people will steal the code.
Right. And so they're not going to do that. The only way, so that what that does is that sends the message to your small game shop that not only do you have to buy this book to put on your shelf in order to have Magic the Gathering and to be able to sell Magic the Gathering, but no one in their right mind is ever going to buy this book off your shelf. So you're screwed. You have to buy 3-5 copies of every single book that we put out.
In order
knowing that
to get the Magic cards, yes.
You'll never be able to sell it.
But they won't sell, yes.
But you have to. That's the only way you get the Magic cards.
That's true. That's
the scam. That's absolutely the scam.
That's what every game store owner has said to me.
Oh yeah, that's what everyone has told me as well. It's like, that is the scam. It's like, if I don't carry their books, and if I don't only carry their books, if I have to carry other books, they have to be at the other side of the shop.
Yep.
They can't be anywhere near each other. It's just like if you walk into a deli or a gas station, you'll see Coke products are on one side of the fridge and Pepsi are on the other.
Yeah.
All right. And in some places, you really don't, their restaurants are only one or the other.
Yes.
All right. So there is no mixing in a restaurant. So and that's what they're going to do. What would hurt Wizards of the Coast is if and they'll never do it, I understand. But what would ultimately hurt them is if they said, you know what, I'm going to carry other RPGs. And if you are going to tell me that I can't have access to Magic the Gathering as a primary market, I'll just sell the damn cards on the secondary market. I'll just buy a couple boxes myself, bust them open, and sell Lucy's and the specials, at a marked up price, and that's it. I won't become your distributor, for your product then, and just, cut their losses on it. But I don't anticipate that they're doing that, but they're getting driven out of business anyway. So I don't see why they would just adhere to that abusive policy. And not just push back on it and say, all right, I won't sell Magic the Gathering, or I won't sell it as a primary distributor of it. I'll sell it on secondary market process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a lot of what that's even what game stores did with the limited edition Magic stuff that they weren't supposed to crack open and sell. They did.
Yeah.
Because it was the only way they could make a profit.
Where you're
Yeah, I mean, you could have orcs from different settings behave in a different way, but this isn't doing that. I mean, this is literally taking orcs and making them sound heroic and making them sound like there's no evil being even mentioned. Even
No, I know. They're the
you
good
know,
guys and those evil elves that drove them out.
yeah, it's like you don't know who, you don't know who is the bad guy in this situation. Whose VTT looks amazing?
The one that Wizards is saying is going to be theirs. Well,
And
that's not the VTT yet. It's not even working. That's somebody else doing a computer animated of what they think it's going to look like, based upon the Unreal Engine.
Yeah, you know what? I've said it before. Sword Coast Legends has a, I don't know if that game is still available anywhere. It might still be on Steam. You can only play it single player now, so you won't be able to access any of the multiplayer, assets to it and everything. But you could create dungeons in there, and you could run a dungeon solo with your own characters and such. But it's not a bad system, and I think that I'm not quite sure if that used the Unreal Engine. I think it did, and that's really what they're showing you. But they're going to microtransaction that thing up the yin yang. All right. You are going to be buying every bit of clothing, every hairdo, every, whatever they want. They'll nickel and dime you. They'll be, oh, you can get this costume for 50 cents.
There's no question the VTT will use the gotcha.
Yeah.
Loot box mentality. Want that sword your character got to glow? $12.
Yeah, you'll never see another box set. Yeah, probably not. I don't think that this new one sold that well either. I don't think virtually anything sells all that well from Wizards of the Coast anymore.
No, nothing has sold in a long time.
Or sold well, yeah. Let's see, not having the codes available to everyone and only available if you buy from one is the epitome of gatekeeping. Yeah, well, they're going to, and they're okay with that because they know that only their super fans will play the game then. It's just going to drive more people to the OSR.
Yes.
That's a guarantee. You will have more and more people. Yep. The more will go to the OSR. Let's see. Yeah, the local game stores are taking a beating. Yeah, the internet went out. Can't play D&D anymore. Yeah, I mean, they're completely digitizing the game now, and you won't be able to play without it. You won't be able to play without without a computer and a tablet in everybody's hand. Might as well not even go to each other's homes. You could just play virtual. and all those people that are be like, oh, this is the real way to play, is to play in person. How is that going to happen when everything is required to be, on the computer anyway? And people will be like, oh, why would I go there? I'll sit in the comfort of my own home and we'll play online. Let's see. Every race must have equal potential. Not just equal potential, equal outcome. All right. So equity. You need to have equity. Warcraft also ended up making necromancers and demon-worshipping warlocks cute. And the trolls whose taglines were, "Who do you want me to kill? Just fuzzy kids." Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was just, the stories in World of Warcraft were, for each of the races and everything. I mean, even the undead were treated almost like comical. It's like and most of what they were attacking and killing was was other evil creatures. So it was evil against evil. Evil against evil is not evil. It's just, it's evil light. It's just not evil enough. The Diet Cola of evil, as they would say. And believe it or not, the only game where I was like, wow, that's pretty freaking sick, is when you got to monster play in Lord of the Rings Online, and you could collect up halfling feet as trophies. Okay. So let's see. So I completed the whole week's worth of RPG days. Making heroic orcs is okay. Just realize you are actually using something that totally isn't orcs. In name only. An ultra thin skin suit. Yeah. Everything is just a ultra thin skin suit. Relatable, maybe not. Compelling, absolutely. You could write compelling evil. You could make evil so nasty that the players will refuse to do anything but want to wipe them out. All right. One of the themes in my campaign was that there's a deity in Greyhawk who is Wastrey. So this deity he's a demigod. He was actually imprisoned by Zajic. And so there's an animosity between the two. And the story that I developed for their main campaign was basically that Wastrey has several domains. One of his domains is bigotry. The other is self
Self-harm.
Self delusion or something like that. Like you just don't, you adopt the wrong beliefs, and it just drew my mind. It's not self-denial, it's like a self-delusion, right? And then and plus evil and other things like that. So what I had Wastrey do was he co-opted, as he's trying to spread his cult, he co-opted a an enclave of druids, filled them with self delusion or denial, and got them to believe that it was to benefit the natural order to eradicate all demi-humans from the country that they were in, to all demi-humans from Yeomanry. And because they were convinced of this through that self-delusion, that they adopted this. They still remained druids because they didn't really understand that what they were doing was wrong. They became almost like environmental terrorists, So they believe they're doing what's good for nature, and yet they're still doing this very, very evil act. And that was the whole premise of it. And when my players first encountered this, this storyline, they were like, we've got to stop them at all costs, and it created a compelling evil that, that nothing was going to stand in the player character's way to stop it. All right. And so, is it relatable evil? No. And it's not meant to be, because that's not what the player characters are supposed to be in AD&D. At least according to Gary Gygax, they're supposed to be engaged in a heroic fantasy. All right, and they're a force of good, and so they're not supposed to be able to relate to the evil that they are questing to bring to an end. So I don't think it's difficult to write compelling evil, and I don't think it's meant that you're going to write relatable evil. If that's what you mean by relatable evil, you can certainly expand on that. Oh, here you probably did. Relatable, engaging, which means it has to be a threat. Okay. Well, I think that's compelling, but all right. At least I know now what you meant. Not filtered or softened. No, it's supposed to be, almost over the top, which is the kind of evil that I like to present to. So when this whole debate over, orcs and orcs, orcs are not meant to be just evil or whatever, I started making my orcs so extremely evil that no one encountering them would want to leave even their offspring to survive in their in the caves of chaos. My player party, they just started, except for the paladin. He was like, I don't want to take part in this because you're still slaughtering not innocents, but you're slaughtering those that really have no potential of of it being a fair fight. But the rest of the party didn't have an issue with that. And so anytime they came into like a common area, the party would kill the male humanoids. Didn't matter if they were hobgoblins, goblins, orcs, bugbears, in that case. And in almost every one of those little mini lairs, there was always a group of women and children. And they got to the point where they're like, every time that we've left them be, they went and they ended up bothering the countryside anyway. So they just started murder hoboing through the caves of chaos and just slaughtering everything that came into their path. And they had no more remorse for it because they knew the consequences of not was going to visit the human population that they were charged with helping to protect. So that's what I like to do. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, half orcs have, and half orcs have always had a hard time um, integrating the into the world of Greyhawk, and then being treated fairly. You might even have you know um, a half orc that's lawful good, but he's still going to face the prejudices that come along with being a half orc. I mean, that's part of the role playing aspect of it. Yeah, and I've seen orcs portrayed that way in like as like proto human kind of kind of things. But not really of the human line though. So not hominids in the sense that they were, just an earlier version of humans. They were still distinctly different, a different species altogether. That's true too. You don't need as much of an explanation of everything in an adventure as you would a story. Hello, Rogue Scholar. I don't know if I've clicked on any of yours before, but welcome. I keep trying to engage in the discussion on Twitter by asking people when they draw the line with racial stats. I use Bigfoot as an example, but nobody wants to talk to me about it. Yeah, I mean, I got into a big thing on Twitter with the person who created the combat wheelchair. And I fully admit that I tried to um, put the person into a trap of basically admitting that they wanted the person did not want any detriment, any disadvantage of being in the wheelchair. So there could be no difficulty. No, and the person kept on saying they had to be treated exactly the same as any other character not in a wheelchair. So then I said, well, then what you're describing is that the wheelchair is simply cosmetic. And then that person and other people went, off the rails. It's not cosmetic. You're dehumanizing them. And I was like, no, what you're saying is that you don't want any game mechanic that is a detriment, that is a hindrance for being in the wheelchair, and treat them exactly as if they were not in the wheelchair. Then you're making a cosmetic argument that, I was like, if someone's in a wheelchair, what is their dexterity? I said, if I were doing the game mechanics for a character in a wheelchair, they're essentially prone. Their dexterity might be a 3 or a 4 or a 5 at the maximum, but they're not going to be very mobile. They're not going to have an armor class that is going to be very difficult to hit. You're going to have the minuses due to that low dexterity. You're a larger target because you're in that wheelchair, and so it makes you a larger target. And I just kept on laying out all of the logical hindrances, and they kept on shooting it down and saying, no, 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 you can't have this. That is gatekeeping. That is ableist. That is, this and that. And it's, you're a deplorable person. I get banned. I get blocked. I get, and it was like, I never, never get them to, even say that there could be any detriment to being in it. And I says, well, and then they wanted to lump on all of the advantages that came in from being in the combat wheelchair. And then I asked the question, which finally got me booted from that thread. I asked the question, well, with all of these advantages, I mean, this is a pretty darn cool thing. Why couldn't my able-bodied character then opt to use a combat wheelchair? And they were left speechless because they didn't know how to respond to that. I says, what's to prevent a character from saying, listen, I want to be in one of those wheelchairs because look at all the advantages. You can't fall in a pit trap because it hovers. You can't do this. You can't have these problems. You have a faster movement rate than the normal. You can't get hindered by terrain effects. You can't, you get all of these additional, hit points and protections and just one after another of all of these magical advantages that you're getting from this super chair. And basically they were like, no, we're not even going to answer those questions. Can a able-bodied person use a combat wheelchair? And that also, they also avoided the question of, well, it's a magic world. Why won't you just cure yourself of having whatever detriment put you in that wheelchair to begin with? And that line of questioning they can't stand. So there's just so much out there that, in the hobby, mostly from Twitter, that's where this all this nonsense comes from, is Twitter, that and in many, many cases, these are people who do not play the game. And that's the other thing, is that, most of the time you're dealing with people like the all orcs are racist, orcs are a depiction of African Americans. That guy came straight out and said, I don't even play D&D. It's not even a game I like. But he created this whole brouhaha over orcs being evil. And so it's like we keep on letting these people that are outside of the gaming community come in and shit all over everything that we've been trying to do or we've been doing for 40 years, and then they just walk away from it after they've destroyed it. Okay. I'm just going to jump around and hit a few things. Even an elf as a person is a different species. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that I will say, is that it's unfortunate that that Gary and Dave Arneson and the the other people at the very beginning, the creators at the very beginning, didn't anticipate the use of the term race as being something that would be used against both them and their legacy and the game itself. If they just launched with orcs are a different species than humans, elves are a different species than orcs and humans, and dwarves are a different species than elves, dwarfs, and orcs and humans. And if they just labeled them as species, I think that this problem would never have come up, because then you can say different species have different traits. Done. They have different abilities. Done. They can have different attributes. That's fine too. It's like that would have avoided, I think, a lot of this. But they just didn't anticipate the level of nonsense that 40 years later, the hobby would have to deal with. Let's see. Just any race. People want to abolish all racial stat ranges like +2 to strength, etc., as though every person can be the same. But Bigfoot will always be way stronger than a person no matter what. Yeah, I mean, it's like they, again, what did I say? That you can take, you get 2 points or maybe 3 points, and you can put 2 points in one stat and 1 point in another or something like that, and they're fully movable. You can move them anywhere. So you could have a high dexterity dwarf by putting those two points in there, and by same consequence, a low constitution dwarf, which wouldn't normally match what they're what they're described as, and what they've always been described as. So yeah, it's just silly that they've gone that far off the deep end, and they've allowed Wizards of the Coast have allowed these ideas to infiltrate their game, and it's moved them further and further away from what the game was meant to be. Yes, it is a lot of lunacy. Yep. I love holding a mirror to the people's bright ideas and watching them implode. Yeah, they really can't, like, when you challenge them with, calm, rational, just trying to break down what they're saying, and they they don't have a response to it. Okay. Wow, it's already 11:30, and we've been going for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So listen, everyone, I'm going to wrap this one up, and I'll call the family and make sure everybody's fine where they're at. And really thank you, everyone, for popping in. And I will be doing a video tomorrow, I think, or maybe not actually. Might take the day off tomorrow, and I'll probably do something Tuesday morning. I will be doing a video with Castles and Crusades and the combat system, and talking about combat in Castles and Crusades and all the different elements of it, melee combat, how armor class works, and then range combat, magic in combat situations, and such combat movement, combat modifications, and everything. So that will be the next video on the channel. And as always, thanks for joining in. Great response from everyone. Seen some new faces here, so remember to like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'm pretty sure I'm safely over 2,200 subs now. I know it's been lingering close to that over the last couple of days. I'm pretty sure it's gone over 2,200. So I'm fairly confident to say that the channel is now at 2,200, and I'm waiting to do a giveaway of some of the Castles and Crusades extra stuff that I have, plus some other games. I'm kind of trying to clear off my shelf of some things that I'm certainly not going to play, and just trying to make room for some of the new stuff I have coming in. And so I will be looking to, do some giveaways once I hit some other milestones for the channel. So once again, thanks for joining, everyone, and you'll have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, keep on gaming, keep on looking at the OSR for, just the innovation and the, really cool systems out there. Some of the best art in the industry is coming through the OSR. And, as always, just stay safe out there and keep on playing, keep on rolling those dice and role playing. You remember to role play when you're playing your games. And, if you're a GM, keep it nice and dynamic. Make sure you're playing to have fun. And, if you're a player, just be as engaged as you can, because that's really going to help everybody along the way as well. So, the more you're engaged, the more everybody else around you will be engaged, and you'll just have a much, much better experience. So, as always, have a great night and have a good rest of your weekend. Take care.